Super Bowl 57 review. This was one of the greatest Super Bowls ever played. You had two teams who were the top teams in their conference, the number one seeds, face off. They both played well. The quality of play was excellent. They were prepared. Coaching on both sides were strong. And this was the third game in this stadium in Arizona, and we've had great games that come right down to the end every single time. Think about the Giants upsetting the undefeated Patriots 2007, 2014, the ending between the Seahawks and the Patriots, and now the Chiefs defeating the Eagles. I have to say something about the field. I've been going on and on about how much I was looking forward to Super Bowl 57 being played in Arizona. It's outdoors, you're playing on grass, you know it's going to be as close to perfect as you're going to get because you don't have to worry about rain. If anything, it's going to be warm there. But the field, I don't know who's responsible for the field, but that turf was awful. Players were slipping throughout the game. You can't have that for a Super Bowl. I'm all for grass, but that was a major disappointment. And I'll come out and say I was wrong. I chose the Eagles to win. I favored the Eagles to win. You have to remember sometimes that in the modern NFL, you can have the advantage on so many levels, at so many different positions. But sometimes it just comes down to the quarterback and the head coach. You have the better coach. You have the better quarterback. That may be enough to win, even though on paper you have a disadvantage, even though you have an inferior roster. You have less talent. That's what happened in Super Bowl 57. The Eagles came out exactly the way they had hoped to. They scored. They went right down the field. But so did the Chiefs. The Chiefs responded right away. And the Eagles controlled the first half. I mean, how do you beat the Chiefs? How do you beat Patrick Mahomes? Two ways. It's the same way, the first way is the same way you beat all great quarterbacks. If you can beat them, is getting pressure with the front four. And I thought the Eagles were going to have the defense to do that. They led the NFL in sacks. They had 70 sacks, the second most sacks in a regular season in NFL history. They didn't get home. And when they blitzed, it didn't work. And if you're going to blitz Patrick Mahomes, you better get there. And they didn't. The other way is to keep that quarterback on the sidelines. Keep the ball out of their hands. And the Eagles did that for the first half. So much went right for them. Jalen Hurts was outstanding. He had one of the greatest performances by a losing quarterback in Super Bowl history. I mean, look at the statistics here, and it's not all about statistics. But if I told you that these were going to be Mahomes' numbers, that he threw for less than 200 yards, and Hurts threw for over 300 and ran for another 70. He had 4 total touchdowns, and Mahomes had 3. You're going to tell me that the Chiefs win that game? I wouldn't say so. And then look at these numbers too. You would say, oh, Travis Kelce, he got off to a hot start in the first quarter, but 81 yards, 6 receptions, 1 touchdown. If I was the Eagles, I'd take that. And then you look at Devontae Smith, 7 receptions, 100 yards. A.J. Brown, 6 receptions, 96 yards, and a touchdown. The Eagles go up at halftime, and I'm not going to talk too much about the first half, but the Eagles controlled the game. They went into halftime with a 10-point lead. They controlled time of possession, and then it looked like Patrick Mahomes was hurt. And I don't ever take Patrick Mahomes as being overly dramatic. I mean, if he's in pain, he's in pain. It's not like the players in the NBA. And you're wondering, okay, will he be able to do anything in the second half of this Super Bowl? Or could it be over? We don't know. There are a couple turning points in the second half, but that opening possession where the Chiefs went right down the field, the Eagles were not able to offer any resistance and make it a 3-point game, the momentum shifted right there. And momentum does matter. How can you say momentum doesn't matter? I never understand that when people say that. Momentum matters. And the Eagles, although they continued to play well, they never got it back. I mean, the fact that they never were able to sack Mahomes one time. And we look at the offensive line versus the defensive line here. And I said in both cases, Eagles have a better offensive line, Eagles have a better defensive line, and that should win them the game right there. And they have enough offense. And they are able to drive the ball down the field. They make big plays. But they didn't. Who won in the trenches? Who won the line of scrimmage? The Chiefs. Not the Eagles, the Chiefs. And it's really amazing to think about that because who's the best player on the Chiefs defense? Chris Jones. Chris Jones was erased by the Eagles offensive line. He had no impact the entire game. None. And that's why I say so much went right for the Eagles. No interceptions from Hurts. But what was the one glaring mistake he made in the first half? The fumble. And it was not even a forced fumble. He just loses the ball. Bolton picks it up, runs it in. I mean, if it wasn't for that touchdown for the Chiefs, what would it be at halftime? It would have been 24-7 at halftime. Was that the whole game? No. But what would it have been like for the Chiefs? I'm not saying they couldn't come back, but when you're looking at the final score, 38-35, you take those 7 points off the board, it's 35-31. Though, in fairness, of course, when the Chiefs had the ball in that last possession, they kicked the field goal, they could have easily gone in. And they would have gone in and scored. So perhaps we're looking at overtime. Perhaps it's the Eagles with the ball with more time on the clock. We'll get to the end of the game, too. But the Chiefs, look at this. They were able to run the ball for 6 yards a carry, 158 yards rushing to the Eagles. And the Eagles' best runner was Hurts, and the Eagles were so aggressive. I mean, Sirianni didn't have a bad day coaching, not at all. But they were so aggressive going for fourth downs. They had success with that, but they really weren't able to establish a run with their running backs. I mean, who had the better game? You could say all the eye-catching plays, the huge plays, were made by Hurts. And you're at a quick glance at the box score, he had a better game than Mahomes. Mahomes was more efficient. But look at this. Mahomes, his longest throw of the day, 22 yards. The longest completion, 22 yards to Travis Kelce. That was it. Longest run, Patrick Mahomes. It was that 26-yard run on the bad ankle. And actually, the two longest runs on both sides were by the quarterbacks. Mahomes 26 yards and then Hurts 28 yards. So that's all great, but Mahomes did not make any mistakes. He didn't turn the football over. And as great as Hurts was, and some of those throws he made were incredible. I mean, you could argue that the A.J. Brown touchdown should have been broken up. It could have been an interception, but it wasn't. But overall, he had a spectacular Super Bowl debut. But Mahomes didn't make any mistakes. He didn't turn the football over. All this on a bad ankle. It was a legendary performance by him. And it was better than the Super Bowl against the 49ers. It was obviously better than what happened with the Buccaneers. But the Chiefs protected him. I mean, Andy Reid, and I heard those after the game and their comments about Andy Reid. They were saying, oh, well, Andy Reid's now cemented his place in Canton. He wasn't in the Hall of Fame already. I mean, just consider all of his career wins, the fact that he already took two teams to the Super Bowl in the NFC and AFC, and I recognize that's not a lock for someone such as Mike Holmgren, getting to 3 Super Bowls. He did it, and only won one. But considering this was his 4th Super Bowl, and he'd already won one, I already considered him a lock for the Hall of Fame, Andy Reid. I'd have to say this was the best game of his career. For Andy Reid, and I would even say for Patrick Mahomes, the defining moment of Andy Reid's coaching career was Super Bowl 57. And sure, statistically, it was not for Patrick Mahomes, not impressive at all. But considering the caliber of the defense that he played, and he was in his injured condition, he was never better. They were both never better, and they have solidified their place as one of the great coach-quarterback duos in NFL history. Belichick, Brady, Montana, and Walsh. And you have Mahomes and Reid. And what a 5-year run they've had. But where did the Eagles go wrong? I mean, I want to get back to this. Where did the Eagles go wrong in Super Bowl 57? I put down 2 unforgivable mistakes when you're facing the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes is on the other side of the field. And that was the fumble by Hurts and then the punt return by Tony. You cannot. I remember just saying out loud when Hurts fumbled that is unforgivable against Patrick Mahomes. And it did come back to bite them, and it was the difference. And then the punt return, you cannot give up anything extra. You cannot allow anything extra. You cannot give them easy yards, free yards on special teams, or you're going to lose. Not one, but 2 massive mistakes. And then the other story is the Chiefs' offensive line. The Chiefs' offensive line kept Mahomes protected. They kept him up. And Mahomes and Andy Reid, they just figured out the Eagles' defense, and they just picked them apart in the second half. And the Eagles just could not stop them. And also, who deserves credit? Steve Spagnuolo. I mean, was it a Super Bowl to forget for everyone 2 years ago against the Buccaneers? Yes, it was a Super Bowl to forget. And I said, I don't think they should just get a complete pass for that game. And it's not one we'll just forget. It was a bad day for the Chiefs. But now that they won this one, and I consider this a far more impressive game because they put it together in the fourth quarter against the 49ers, and the 49ers fell apart. The Chiefs were at a disadvantage in the Super Bowl. Their quarterback was banged up, and they were playing against a high-powered offense that could score. The 49ers were not that. And the 49ers had a better defense. Let me say that. 49ers had a better defense in 19 than this Eagles defense. But considering they had to go back and forth, and there was the pressure to keep scoring, and then coming back from behind as they did against a quick strike offense, it was the best coached Super Bowl by Andy Reid, and to me, it is the most impressive performance of Patrick Mahomes' Super Bowl career thus far. And it shows that the offensive line matters. If you keep your quarterback protected, and if it's Patrick Mahomes, he has time to pass, and he doesn't need much time, they'll win. And I heard Brian Baldinger talk about this morning. I thought about in the past too. In some ways, what's defined the success of Andy Reid and the Chiefs this 5-year run is staying healthy. Yeah, Mahomes has had some injuries, but for the most part, he has done, and I don't think it's just luck, he has done a brilliant job keeping his best players on the field and keeping them healthy. Mahomes, Kelsey, Tyreek Hill when they had him. And that's another reason why this was so incredibly impressive. An all-time great performance by the entire Chiefs team was they didn't have Tyreek Hill. But they used the pieces that they had that they got back, like Pacheco. I mean, how good was he? They keep their guys healthy. Chris Jones, Frank Clark. They were in there, and they've been there for the big games. The Chiefs' defense did enough. They did enough. And they got more pressure on Hurts than the Eagles got on Mahomes. And the Eagles' defense was exposed. I mean, once Andy Reid made the halftime adjustments, the Eagles were helpless. They couldn't do anything to stop the Chiefs. And in my opinion, they were not the number one defense. I believe the 49ers had the number one defense, but I say this as a 49ers fan. I think the 49ers absolutely lose that game. Between Shanahan being too conservative and overthinking things, even with that defense, and the Chiefs, to some degree, have the 49ers number anyway. The Chiefs are the best team this year. Let's say that. They exposed the flaws of the Eagles' defense, being able to run on that defense, and then finding the weaknesses in their secondary. And it's not to say the Eagles don't still have a very good defense, but it's not as good as we thought it was. And they just weren't tested. Let's face it, the Giants, and then they played a team without a quarterback. I maintain that the 49ers would have beat the Eagles if Purdy stayed up and stayed healthy. But the final turning point for me was where the Chiefs won was when they held the Eagles late in the third quarter. And it really surprised me that the Eagles settled for a field goal. They already went for 4th and down once. And I know it wasn't 4th and short. It wasn't 4th and 1 or 2. But you can't beat the Chiefs when they're rolling with field goals. As good as the Eagles were, and as much as they were able to score, when they only went up by 6 points, they lost the game right there. They had to keep getting touchdowns. And yes, there was a controversial play at the end. I would have preferred that the play was not called or the flag was not thrown. But the Chiefs won this Super Bowl. And that Hail Mary at the end, wow, was that ugly, or was that one of the worst Hail Marys I ever saw? It's not that Hurts was going to throw the ball 70 yards. But congratulations to the Chiefs. That's 2 Super Bowls in 4 years. That's 3 conference championships in 4 years. Andy Reid is one of the great coaches of all time now. Patrick Mahomes, I always say when it comes to the Hall of Fame, don't even talk to me until a quarterback is 30 years old, or most of skilled position players are 30 years old, with the exception of running back. And you also have to take into consideration that, yes, this is Super Bowl era. All the rules are in favor of the quarterback and offense and spreading it out and not being able to hit the quarterback. But Mahomes is one of a kind. He is a magician out there. What he does and what he brings to the game, we have never seen anything like it. I don't know how many Super Bowls he end up with in the end, but you say 5 years as a starter, 5 Pro Bowls, 2 regular season MVPs, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. If he retired today, I'd put him in the Hall of Fame. I'm still not quite ready to say, well, he's a top 5 quarterback of all time. If we're just saying, well, at his peak right now, that's a discussion. We just say from a pure talent standpoint, you could say he's the best quarterback of all time. The perfect quarterback. But longevity does matter. But enjoy it. Enjoy what you're seeing, because we haven't seen anything like Mahomes. We may never see a player like Mahomes. I remember saying the same thing about years ago in the NBA Finals with LeBron James when he returned to the Cavs, and I was thinking, well, he's going to slow down like most players do. It was actually during the first finals between the Warriors and the Cavs. I'm like, oh, he can't be doing this much longer. Just appreciate it. But Mahomes has some good years in front of him. But again, at 27, is he going to be better than this? Probably not. He's got some good years in front of him. But what an effort. What an extraordinary effort. And that's what you always have to remember. Maybe that's where we should stop there, is the extraordinary effort of Mahomes, whether it be coming back from down 10 in the fourth quarter in Super Bowl 54 against the 49ers, or as ugly as everything was in Super Bowl 55 against the Buccaneers, he was giving it his all. Or in this game, in his injured condition and leading his team to victory, and then pulling off that 26-yard run on the bad ankle, he has my highest respect. And we can talk about the Eagles another day, but this is the Chiefs' third Super Bowl now, so they are up there as one of the, not the very top tier of all-time NFL franchises, but they are in the, again, the upper half. Now have put themselves in a select group with, I'd say, the second tier of all-time great franchises. The top tier, the NFL royalty, that belongs to the Steelers, the Patriots, the Cowboys, the 49ers. But I'd say that second tier below them, where you have the Packers and the Giants, the Raiders, the Redskins, and the Chiefs. What a year. And this is a Super Bowl we can go back and rewatch and enjoy from here on out. And it's one we'll continue to talk about. And for the Eagles, it's going to haunt them. You know, what happened to Hurts with the fumble, it's like what happened to Russell Wilson happened on the same field. That one interception. You wish you could have it back. And the greats, the all-time greats, always capitalize on mistakes. That's what the Patriots did. That's what the Patriots did to the Eagles in 2004. And that's what the Patriots did to the Seahawks in 2014. That's what the Chiefs did to the Eagles in Super Bowl 57.